ChatGPT has taken the world by storm recently, but can it give me the best possible start in Ark Survival Evolved? I want to know if this all-conquering AI can help me have the best possible start in Ark Survival Evolved. ChatGPT works by asking questions. The tool has read billions of text across the internet, and what it'll do, it'll resource all of that, come back and give you an answer. So if I'm a new player, how can ChatGPT help me? I started by asking the AI, what is the safest map? There are 6 official maps for Ark: the Island, Scorched Earth, Aberration, Extinction, Genesis Part 1, Genesis Part 2. There are 6 unofficial maps: the Center, Ragnarok, Valgero, the Crystal Isles, Lost Islands and Fjorda. And then the AI came up with.
Best map for a beginner player in Ark Survival Evolved is probably the Island. It is the original map and has a good balance of resources, wildlife and difficulty. It is also the most well-populated map with a lot of player-made structures and bases, making it easy to find other players and form tribes. Additionally, the island is home to all of the main Ark creatures, giving players the opportunity to experience all of them.
I agreed with the AI's choice of the island, but what did you think? Let me know in the comments. With the map out the way, the next thing is character creation. I wanted to know what, if any, are the advantages for choosing gender.
In Ark Survival Evolved, the choice of gender for a player character does not affect gameplay in any significant way. The game features no in-game mechanics that would be affected by the player's gender, so the decision of which gender to play as is purely a matter of personal preference. Both male and female characters have the same abilities, stats and animations, so the choice between them is purely cosmetic. Some players might prefer to play as a certain gender for role-playing reasons, or simply because they prefer the look of one over the other. Ultimately, the best gender to play as is the one you feel most comfortable and satisfied playing with, as it will have no effect on the gameplay itself. In Ark Survival Evolved, the hitbox of the male and female player characters is the same. A hitbox is a virtual area around a character or object that is used to detect collisions and determine whether an attack or other action has hit its target. In this game, the hitbox for the player character is determined by the character's model, which is the same for both male and female characters. So both male and female characters have the same hitbox size, which means that they are equally vulnerable to attacks, and they can't use hitbox size to gain an advantage or disadvantage. It's worth noting that there are some creatures in the game that have different hitboxes, and this can affect the difficulty of hitting them or taking damage from them. But for player characters, the hitbox is the same for both male and female.
With no advantages of gender, and I've got no desire to roleplay, I'm just going to go with the blow. What about size? Now in real life, in case you don't know, I am 6'6" and I am pushing. Would that help in Ark?
In Ark Survival Evolved, the size of the player character does not have a significant impact on gameplay. The character's size is determined by the model used and is purely a cosmetic feature. The size of the character will not affect the player's health, movement speed, damage dealt, or any other in-game mechanics. The size of a character will also not affect the player's ability to gather resources or engage in combat. However, the size of the character can have an impact on the player's visibility and camouflage in certain situations. A smaller character might be harder to spot in dense foliage or tall grass, while a larger character might be more visible in open areas. But overall, the size of the character is not a major factor in the game. Ultimately, the size of your character is a cosmetic choice and it does not affect the gameplay in any significant way.
What about skin tone? We have a slider. Surely there's a reason for it.
In Ark Survival Evolved, the colour of the player's character skin does not affect gameplay in any significant way. The colour of the character's skin is determined by the model used and it is purely a cosmetic feature. The colour of the character's skin will not affect the player's health, movement speed, damage dealt, or any other in-game mechanics. The colour of the character's skin will also not affect the player's ability to gather resources or engage in combat. However, the colour of the character's skin might have an impact on camouflage in certain situations. A darker skin colour might be more effective for blending in with darker environments, while a lighter skin colour might be more effective in brighter environments. But overall, the colour of the character's skin is not a major factor in the game. Ultimately, the colour of your character's skin is a cosmetic choice and it does not affect the gameplay in any significant way.
So knowing this, I decided to go with the default. Good old Beach Bob. How do you do your character? Do you have a set default for PvP, PvE style plays? I tend to just pick Bob. I realised that ChatGPT was considering in its responses both PvP styles and PvE styles. It was also considering official playlists, or at least playlists with other players, which I think is great. But what if you like to play alone? I asked the AI to recommend me single player settings.
In Ark Survival Evolved, the best single player settings will depend on your personal preferences and goals for the game. However, here are some general recommendations for settings that are commonly used by single player players. Difficulty level. Single players typically choose to play on a lower difficulty difficulty levels such as easy or medium to make the game more manageable. Harvesting. You may want to increase the harvesting rate and the amount of resources obtained per resource node. This will allow you to progress faster and gather resources more efficiently. Experience. Increasing the experience gain will allow your character to level up faster, thus giving you access to more engrams, recipes, to craft items. Taming. Increasing the taming speed and decreasing the taming food consumption can make taming dinosaurs easier and faster. Weather. You may want to turn off realistic weather effects as they can make the game more challenging and can affect visibility. Structure collision. Turn off structure collision. This will allow you to build structures freely without hitting any obstacles. Enable cheats. Enabling cheats can help you progress faster and make the game easier, such as spawning resources, weapons, and dinosaurs. It's worth noting that these are just general recommendations and you should experiment with different settings to find the ones that work best for you.
There are some good suggestions there. I won't be changing at this moment because I'm already in a playthrough. I'm live streaming that on the channel and I don't want to mess it up. Naturally, as a new player or old player, you want to stay alive as long as possible. And part of the process to playing around with Chat GPT, this is where I spent the most because I really wanted to push it.
The safest spawn location on the island map in Ark Survival Evolved would likely be in the south central region of the map near the redwoods. This area is relatively safe from dangerous creatures such as the T-Rex and Alpha Raptors, and there is a good balance of resources and wildlife for the players to gather. Additionally, there are many caves and cliffs in the redwoods that can be used for building bases and hiding from enemies. It's worth noting that the safety of a spawn location can also depend on the player's playstyle and time of day. Some players might prefer a more secluded location that is furthest away from other players, while others might prefer to spawn near a busy area where they can quickly find allies. For a single player experience in Ark Survival Evolved, a good location on the island map would be the southwestern coast. This area offers a relatively safe and secluded location to start off, with a good balance of resources and wildlife. The beach area is a great spot for early game fishing, and the nearby swamps and jungles offer a variety of resources to gather, such as thatch, wood and berries. Additionally, the nearby mountains and cliffs provide a good location to build a base, while keeping a lookout for potential threats. The area is also home to relatively low-level creatures, making it a good spot for a beginner player to get hold of the game. In Ark Survival Evolved, the best spawn location between South 1, South 2 and South 3 would depend on the player's playstyle and goals for the game. However, here are some general recommendations for the different regions. South 1, this area is known for its abundance of resources and wildlife. It also has a relatively low density of dangerous creatures, making it a safe area to start off in. South 2, this area is known for its high density of dangerous creatures such as the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus, so it's not recommended for beginners, but it can be a good spot for players who want to hunt and fight high-level creatures. South 3. This area is known for its abundance of resources and wildlife, and it also has a relatively low density of dangerous creatures. It's also a good spot for players who want to hunt and fight high-level creatures. Ultimately, the best spawn location between South 1, South 2 and South 3 depends on your playstyle, the resources you want to gather, and the challenges you want to face. It's always a good idea to start with a location that is relatively safe and easy to gather resources from, and that can provide you with the resources and abilities you need to survive and progress in the game. In Ark Survival Evolved, the spawn location that will keep you alive the longest would likely be South 1. This area is known for its abundance of resources and wildlife, and it also has a relatively low density of dangerous creatures such as T-Rex and Spinosaurus, making it a safe area to start off in. Additionally, South 1 is also home to a variety of herbivorous dinosaurs, which can be tamed for early game resource gathering and transportation. This area also has a good balance of resources, including thatch, wood, berries and crystals. It's worth noting that no spawn location can guarantee you a long life in the game, as you'll still face challenges and dangers like hunger, thirst and other players. Also, the game's difficulty can be adjusted in the settings to make the game harder or easier depending on the player's preference. However, starting in a relatively safe area with a good balance of resources will give you a better chance of survival and progress in the game.
Okay, we're all set. We've followed the suggestions of Chat GPT. We've got our map, we've got our character and we've got the spawning point. But what happens next? On the screen now, there are a couple of examples of great base locations, and these locations will get you right through to mid-tier, possibly high tier in the game. Check them out.